Sometimes in life, we make the choice to step away, to fade into the background, to disconnect. Sometimes it's intentional, sometimes it's simply survival. But what we often don't realize is what happens when we disappear from the world, and more importantly, what happens when we return. Sometimes we go through life so caught up in everyone else's opinions, expectations, and noise that we lose sight of our own worth. We lose track of who we really are, what makes us whole, what gives us purpose. And it isn't always easy to realize it's happening either. You think you're living the life you're supposed to be living, filling everyone's idea of you, but somehow you're slipping further and further from your true self. But then you disappear for a while, and in that silence, you meet yourself again. You start to see that your value isn't tied to anyone else's approval. It isn't about how many times people tell you that you're good enough or talented enough or whatever they're projecting onto you. No, it's something much deeper. You remember that your worth isn't a reflection of the world around you. It's right there, inside of you, solid, unshakable, whether anyone sees it or not. You start peeling back all those layers you put on just to get by the masks, the compromises, the roles that never quite fit. And with each layer you shed, you start to see the core of who you really are. You're reminded of that spark you had, that belief you held in yourself before the world tried to shape you into someone else. And it's liberating because you realize that maybe for the first time in a long time, you don't need to be anything other than yourself. In that process, you rediscover the power in your own voice. You remember that you don't need anyone to validate your worth because it's already there. It's yours to hold, not theirs to give. And suddenly the things that used to make you feel small or insecure or like you needed to prove something to someone else, they don't hold the same power over you anymore. You walk a little taller, breathe a little easier. There's this strength, a calm, and a confidence that grows within you because you've seen yourself clearly and you know you don't need to be anything other than who you are. This isn't the end of the journey either. Life will still try to push you, test you, question you. But this time, when the world comes at you with its demands, you'll remember that quiet moment when you rediscovered yourself. And nothing will shake you because you'll know your worth doesn't lie in what anyone else thinks or says. It's in you, and it's enough. When you step back, when you quietly slip away from the usual scenes, something powerful happens. You start to see the true colors of the people around you. The ones who show up in your life, even when you're not around to entertain, support, or benefit them, those are the ones who hold real, lasting value. And the ones who drift away, who let you disappear without so much as a glance back, their absence tells you everything you need to know. It's a harsh truth, but when you stop being available, you quickly learn who was there because of you and who was there because of what you could give them. The world is full of people who are happy to be in your life as long as they're getting something from it, whether it's attention, validation, a favor, or just the warmth of your light. But the moment you take that light away, some people won't stick around. And maybe it stings at first. Maybe it's a cold realization, seeing some of the faces you once trusted fade away. But the truth is, it's a blessing because the people who disappear when you're no longer right there for them weren't truly there for you in the first place. Then there are those who stay even when you've got nothing to offer but silence. They're the ones who check in when you're out of sight, who notice the space you leave behind and reach out to fill it with their care. They don't need anything from you. They're there because they value you, not for what you can give, but for who you are. Those people are rare, and when you disappear for a time, you begin to see their loyalty shining through like stars against a dark night sky. This kind of clarity doesn't always come easily. It takes courage to step away and to face whatever truths come up when you're no longer putting on a show for everyone. But the reward, it's a life built on real connections. It's friendships and family ties that don't waver, that don't depend on convenience or benefit. And there's a deep peace in that because you come back to a world where you know exactly who's in your corner. So in those moments when you're feeling invisible, when you're wondering if anyone notices your absence, just remember the right people always will. And those are the only people worth holding on to. Because in the end, life's too short to fill it with faces that turn away when you're not there to shine for them. Let them go. Let the ones who stay be the ones who truly see you and stand by you. They're the ones who matter, and they're the ones who'll be there, no matter where life takes you, Dot. When you step into solitude, really step into it, you discover a whole new world, a world where it's just you and your own voice. No distractions, no noise, no demands from anyone. At first, it can be unsettling. The silence feels loud. Almost too loud. You're left alone with all the thoughts you've been too busy to listen to, all the feelings you've been too afraid to feel. But that's where the power of solitude lies. Because when you get through that initial discomfort, you start to see yourself in ways you couldn't before. You start to uncover parts of you that got buried under the expectations, the pressure, the need to keep up with everyone else. It's in solitude that you learn what you really want, what drives you, what you're passionate about. You learn about the things you believe in, not because someone told you to believe, but because you've had the time and space to think about them for yourself. There's no one around to influence your thoughts or sway your beliefs, so what you're left with is raw, honest truth. And in that truth, you find strength. Because in solitude, you have to be okay with yourself. You have to face your insecurities, your doubts, the parts of yourself you've maybe tried to avoid. There's no one else to lean on, no one else to distract you, and that's where the growth happens. It's uncomfortable, but it's also where you discover your resilience. You realize that you can stand on your own 2 feet, that you're capable of handling the weight of your own thoughts and emotions. But solitude isn't just about confronting yourself. It's also about creating, about vision, about planning. In the quiet, you have the freedom to dream without limits. You're not trying to keep up with anyone else's race, you're running your own. The ideas you've pushed aside because they seem too ambitious, too risky, they start to come alive in solitude. Because now, without the noise, you can hear them clearly. You can explore them, build on them, turn them into something real. That's the power solitude gives you, the power to create from a place of authenticity without the pressures of comparison. In the end, solitude doesn't make you lonely, it makes you whole. It teaches you that you don't need anyone's approval to be complete. You find peace in knowing that even if you stand alone, you're still enough. You become comfortable with yourself, with your own company, and that's a power few people ever truly experience. So when you come out of that solitude, you're different. You're grounded, focused, unshakable. And you know, no matter what, you've got yourself, and that's enough, Dot. Reflection is a powerful thing. It's the space between what happens to you and how you respond to it. And in that space lies wisdom, clarity, and strength. See, when you're constantly reacting to every little thing life throws at you, it's like you're a leaf in the wind, tossed around by every gust, every shift, every change in direction. You become a prisoner to the world's whims, to other people's opinions, to emotions that rise and fall like waves. But when you take a moment to reflect, to pause, you're no longer reacting out of impulse. You're responding with intention. In that pause, you start to see things differently. You can step back and really look at what's happening, and not just what's happening on the surface, but what's happening underneath. You can see the reasons behind someone's words, the motivations behind someone's actions. And sometimes when you reflect, you realize that not everything deserves your energy, your anger, your sadness. You learn that there's a strength in holding back, in choosing not to react to every provocation, every piece of bait that life dangles in front of you. Reflection lets you see what really matters. Instead of being swept away by the heat of the moment, you can weigh your response. You can ask yourself, is this worth my peace? Does this add to my life, or is it just another distraction, another detour? When you have that moment of reflection, you're in control. You're making choices that align with your values, not just with the emotions of the moment. And reflection doesn't just make you wiser, it makes you stronger. It gives you a kind of resilience because you're not reacting to every challenge with raw emotion. You're responding with purpose. People might try to pull you down, situations might try to push you to your limits, but in that pause, you gather yourself. You don't let the world dictate how you feel or how you act. You take back that power. Through reflection, you become someone who's hard to shake, hard to provoke, hard to manipulate. You become someone who doesn't just react to life, but who moves through life with intention, with patience, with a quiet kind of strength that can't be rattled. It's not easy, and it takes practice, But once you learn to reflect before you react, you're no longer controlled by the world, you're free. In a world where everyone's reaching for approval, for likes, for a spotlight, finding peace within yourself is a rare and precious thing. There's a kind of power in knowing who you are and finding contentment in that without needing anyone else to confirm it for you. Inner peace is a quiet confidence. It's that deep, steady assurance that no matter what happens, no matter who praises or criticizes you, you know you're enough. You're centered, you're grounded, and that's a strength that can't be given to you by anyone else. It's something you build from within. See, external validation is a slippery slope. It feels good, no doubt. Praise, applause, recognition, they all have a way of lifting us up, giving us a temporary high. But if you start relying on those things to feel whole, then you're always chasing, always waiting for someone else to tell you that you're worthy. And when the applause stops or the praise fades, you're left empty, wondering who you are without it. That's not strength, that's dependency. It makes you vulnerable to every shift in opinion, every bit of approval or disapproval. It means your sense of self-worth is built on a foundation that can crumble at any moment. But when you have inner peace, you're steady. You're not chasing validation because you don't need it to feel whole. You're able to give yourself the respect, the love, the acceptance that others look for in a crowd. It's a different kind of freedom. You move through life with a quiet assurance, with a calm that doesn't waver with every opinion, every trend, every shift in someone else's perception of you. You're in control of how you feel about yourself, and there's nothing more empowering than that. Inner peace is also about knowing that your value isn't determined by what you achieve or how much recognition you get. It's about understanding that you're enough simply by being, by existing. When you reach that place, you're not easily shaken. You don't need to prove yourself to anyone. You don't have to fight for a place or chase acceptance because you know deep down that you're already valuable. That kind of peace doesn't just bring contentment, it brings strength. So let others chase validation if they need to. Let them get caught up in the rush of approval and the fear of criticism. But you focus on finding that peace within, because once you have it, once you know who you are and you're content with that, nothing and no one can take it from you. And that's when you're truly free. There comes a point in every person's life when they have to take a step back and ask themselves what really matters, all the distractions, the noise. The demands life has a way of pulling you in so many directions that you can lose sight of what's truly important. You can find yourself chasing goals that aren't even yours, doing things that don't fulfill you just because you're caught up in the rush. But when you hit that moment of clarity, when you stop and reflect, that's when you start to redefine your priorities. That's when you decide for real what you're going to invest your time, your energy, your heart into. Redefining your priorities means taking a hard look at what's been driving you and asking yourself if it's worth it. It's about shifting your focus from what society tells you to care about, from what your friends or family expect of you, to what you know deep inside is right for you. It's easy to get lost in the pursuit of success, the idea that if you just push harder, do more, be more, you'll find happiness. But true happiness isn't about more, it's about alignment. It's about making sure that what you're doing is in harmony with who you are, not just who you're trying to become. When you start to redefine your priorities, you begin to say no to the things that drain you, the things that don't serve your bigger purpose. And that's where the real freedom comes in. It's not about saying yes to everything, not about pleasing everyone. It's about being able to say yes to the things that truly matter, your health, your peace of mind, your relationships, your personal growth. It's about giving your time and energy to things that feed your soul, not things that just fill your schedule. This kind of shift isn't easy. It's uncomfortable at first because you might have to let go of things, habits, or people that you've been holding on to out of obligation, out of fear, or out of habit. But once you start letting go of what no longer serves you, you make space for the things that do. And you'll be amazed at how much lighter you feel, how much clearer your path becomes. You stop spinning your wheels and start moving in a direction that actually brings you peace, fulfillment, and real joy. Redefining your priorities is a game changer because it means you're no longer living for anyone else's vision of success. You're living for yours. And when you live according to your own priorities, you tap into a power that can't be shaken. You know what matters to you, and you act on it with intention, with clarity, and with purpose. And that's when life starts to make sense. You begin to see that you don't need to chase everything the world tells you to. You just need to follow your own path at your own pace and trust that the things that matter will fall into place when you give them the time and space they deserve. There's a certain kind of power that comes with standing on your own, with knowing that no matter what happens, you've got your back. It's the kind of power that comes not from relying on others to pull you through, but from relying on yourself to get things done, to weather the storms. To keep moving when everyone else would stop. Empowering your own independence means looking inside and finding the strength to stand tall, to move forward, even when the world doesn't give you a hand. It's about not waiting for permission, not asking for validation, but owning your space and your choices. When you're empowered, you stop waiting for someone else to come and save you. You realize that the only person who can change your situation, who can get you where you want to go, is you. You start making decisions based on your own values, your own vision, and not based on the expectations of others. That's when you start taking control of your life. You stop being a passenger in your own journey and become the driver. It's a shift, a mindset shift that flips the script on everything you've been taught about needing others to make it, to succeed, to be happy. Independence isn't just about being alone. It's about being self-sufficient. It's about being able to stand firm in your decisions, to take responsibility for your own actions, and to know that even when the weight is heavy, you can handle it. When you empower yourself, you stop giving your power away. You stop letting circumstances dictate your mood or your fate. You know that no matter what life throws at you, you've got the tools inside to figure it out. You've learned to trust yourself, to listen to your own instincts, to follow through on your own promises. But empowering independence isn't just about survival, it's about thriving. It's about knowing that when you take full ownership of your life, you unlock doors that you never even knew were there. You start seeing opportunities where you once saw obstacles. You begin to realize that you're not bound by limitations, you're only bound by your own mindset. The more you embrace independence, the more you realize that you have the power to create the life you want. You have the ability to make things happen, and that's a feeling no one can take from you. At the same time, you've got to understand that empowering your independence doesn't mean you're closed off to the world. It doesn't mean you stop asking for help or that you don't need others. It means that even when you lean on someone, you still stand on your own 2 feet. It means that you're never dependent on anyone else for your sense of self-worth, your happiness, or your success. You recognize the strength in collaborating, in asking for guidance, but you never forget that your power comes from within. And when you've got that kind of independence, that kind of self-reliance, you begin to see that you can overcome anything. You become unshakable because you know you're the one who controls your future. You stop waiting for the world to open doors for you. You start building your own doors, your own paths. You become a force that can't be moved because you know the one thing no one can take from you is your will to keep going. Resilience is more than just bouncing back from hardship. It's about how you grow through it, how you turn the pain, the struggles, and the setbacks into fuel for your journey forward. Life is going to test you. It's going to push you, pull you, try to break you down. But resilience is the strength that refuses to let that happen. It's the thing inside you that says, you can knock me down, but I'm getting back up. It's the decision to keep going, even when everything in you is telling you to quit. And that's the real test of who you are. You see, we all face challenges. There's no way around it. People lose jobs. Relationships fall apart. Health falters. Dreams get shattered. And in those moments, it's easy to feel like the world's too much, like you can't handle it. The weight of life's blows can feel suffocating, and it's tempting to believe that maybe you're just not built to deal with it. But resilience is in those moments. It's that quiet, unspoken resolve that says, I'm still here, and I'm not going anywhere. Testing your resilience means looking fear in the face and deciding that no matter what happens, you're not going to break. You're going to bend, maybe because no one is immune to the pressure, but you're not going to snap. You learn to absorb the blows, to feel the pain, and then use that pain as the fuel to keep moving. It's not easy and it's not pretty, but it's real. And real strength doesn't come from avoiding challenges. It comes from overcoming them, growing from them, and using them as the foundation for what comes next. But testing resilience isn't just about enduring hardship. It's also about being tested in your ability to adapt. Life doesn't always go according to plan, and sometimes the world throws obstacles in your path that you didn't expect, that you didn't prepare for. And when that happens, resilience means being able to adjust, to pivot, to figure out a new way forward. It's the ability to bend without breaking, to change without losing yourself. There's a strength in resilience that only comes when you realize that you're capable of far more than you thought. You begin to see that you're built for more than the comfort zone you've been clinging to. Life will take you through storms, but resilience gives you the ability to stand tall in the rain, to hold your ground when the winds are howling. It's not about avoiding the storm, it's about learning how to dance in it, how to keep moving through it until the clouds pass. The test of resilience isn't just about surviving hard times, it's about thriving through them. It's about coming out of the struggle stronger, sharper, more focused. When life tests your resilience, it's not just asking if you can take a hit, it's asking if you can get up, learn, and move forward with more wisdom, more courage, more power than before. That's what makes you unshakable. And that's the real power of resilience. It's not in how many times you fall, but in how many times you rise. It's about showing up for yourself day after day, no matter how hard it gets. It's about proving to yourself that no matter how many times you get knocked down, you're always going to get back up. And every time you do, you come back stronger. You come back with more resolve, more grit, and more fire. And when you've got that, nothing can truly defeat you. Because the test of resilience isn't just to survive, it's to thrive, to keep pushing forward no matter what life throws at you. There comes a point in everyone's life when they're knocked down, when the world doesn't give them what they thought they deserved, when the doors close and the dreams seem farther out of reach than ever before. And in that moment, you have a choice. You can stay down, let the past define you. Or you can rise with purpose, with conviction, and come back stronger than ever. The comeback, my friend, is not just about returning to where you were. It's about coming back with a new fire, a new vision, and a deeper understanding of who you are. The thing is, a comeback isn't just about showing up. It's about showing up with purpose. You see, it's easy to get lost in the idea that you just have to get back to where you were before everything went wrong. People expect you to bounce back to the same place, do the same things, pick up where you left off. But a true comeback, that's a whole different level. It's about coming back not just because you can, but because you've learned something along the way. It's about coming back with a deeper sense of who you are and what you stand for. When you come back with purpose, everything changes. You stop living reactively, hoping for the best, trying to make up for lost time. Instead, you step into your comeback with intention, with a clear understanding of what you want to achieve and why. You use your setbacks not as something to regret, but as stepping stones that guide you toward a more purposeful life. Your purpose becomes your North Star. It becomes the reason you keep going when things get tough, when the odds are stacked against you, and when the world tells you it's not worth it. Purpose doesn't just give you direction, it gives you power. It fills you with energy and determination when everything else seems to be draining you. It makes you willing to sacrifice for something greater, to put in the work, to keep pushing when you feel like giving up. A comeback with purpose means you know exactly what you're fighting for. You're not just in it to win for yourself, you're in it because you understand that your journey is bigger than just you. It's about making an impact, it's about leaving a legacy, it's about showing up not just for yourself, but for the people who look up to you, the people who believe in you, and even the ones who didn't think you had it in you. The beauty of a comeback with purpose is that it transforms you. It doesn't just change your circumstances, it changes the way you see the world. You stop letting failures define you. You stop letting people's doubts and criticisms limit your vision. You become focused, driven, and relentless. You realize that the fight wasn't just about proving others wrong. It was about proving to yourself that you could rise above it all, that you could find a way to make it through the storm and come out on the other side, better, stronger, and more determined than ever. And when you rise with purpose, people notice. You don't have to explain yourself. You don't have to convince anyone. Your purpose speaks for itself. It shows in the way you carry yourself, the way you handle setbacks, the way you keep moving forward with a quiet confidence, knowing that every step you take is one step closer to the life you've built, the future you're creating. A comeback with purpose isn't about seeking validation. It's about knowing deep down that the work you're doing, the sacrifices you're making, and the fight you're in all have meaning. So the question isn't, can you make a comeback? It's what kind of comeback will you make? Will you come back with just your feet on the ground? Or will you come back with a fire that burns so bright no one can deny your power? Because that's the difference. The world will try to knock you down. Life will test you, challenge you, make you doubt yourself. But the real power comes when you rise, when you come back with purpose, when you walk into your future knowing that you've got everything you need to make it exactly what you want. That's the kind of comeback that leaves a mark. That's the kind of comeback that defines you, Dot. In this fast-paced world where we're all running from one thing to the next, it's easy to forget just how important it is to connect. We've all got our lives, our jobs, our ambitions, and sometimes we forget that what truly makes life rich, what really gives us meaning, is the connections we make along the way. It's the relationships that lift us up when we're down, the people who believe in us when we can't believe in ourselves, and the bonds that remind us we're never really alone. Appreciating connection isn't just about having people around. It's about recognizing the value in those relationships, recognizing that we are all interconnected, and that it's those connections that carry us through the toughest times. When you really appreciate connection, you stop taking people for granted. You realize that the moments shared with others, whether it's a conversation, a shared experience, or even just being in the same room, are what make life worth living. Life isn't about the things you accumulate or the goals you achieve. It's about the people you meet along the way, the ones who challenge you, support you, and push you to be better. And when you truly appreciate connection, you realize that those moments are irreplaceable. You start seeing every person you come across not as someone passing through your life, but as someone who's there for a reason, whether they're meant to teach you something, help you grow, or just remind you that you're not alone. One of the most powerful things about connection is that it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't require grand gestures or big declarations. Sometimes it's in the small things, the look in someone's eyes that tells you they understand, the quiet support when you're struggling, or the laughter that reminds you to stop taking life so seriously. When you truly appreciate connection, you recognize that every shared moment has the potential to change you. You start to see the value in every interaction, from the casual ones to the deeper, more meaningful ones, because it's those connections, those small, seemingly insignificant moments that often hold the most power. They're the ones that shape you, that stay with you when everything else fades. But appreciating connection also means understanding that it's a two-way street. It's not just about what others bring into your life, it's about what you bring into theirs. It's about showing up for the people who matter to you, being present, being engaged, and offering your support, your time, your energy. The deeper you connect with others, the deeper you learn to appreciate yourself. Because when you give of yourself, whether it's your time, your kindness, or your understanding, you begin to see how much of an impact you can have. You start realizing that in the grand scheme of things, it's the way you connect with others that defines who you are. In a world that's more connected than ever, it's ironic how many of us feel isolated. We have social media, we have endless communication channels, but that doesn't always mean we're truly connected. Real connection isn't about how many friends you have or how many likes you get on a post. It's about the depth of the bond you share with the people in your life, the way you make them feel, the way you show up for them, and the way they show up for you. Real connection is about being seen, heard, and valued for who you are, not just for what you can give or what you can do. It's about allowing yourself to be vulnerable, to open up, and to let others in. It's about finding common ground even in the most difficult situations and coming together despite your differences. When you appreciate connection, you learn to listen, to be present, and to give without expecting anything in return. You understand that it's not about keeping score, it's about sharing the journey. It's about the love you give and the love you receive, and how that love helps you grow. You begin to realize that the greatest gifts you can give to others are not material things, but the gift of your presence, your support, and your time. In turn, you learn that the greatest gift anyone can give you is their authentic self, their true, unguarded, unfiltered presence. And the more you appreciate connection, the more you realize that life is richer because of it. The struggles become more bearable when you've got someone by your side. The victories are sweeter when you have someone to share them with. The hard times feel a little less hard when you've got people who genuinely care about you. Appreciating connection is about recognizing the power of human bonds, the way they lift you up, the way they challenge you, and the way they remind you that no matter how difficult things may get, you're never truly alone. So take the time to appreciate the connections in your life, the people who have been there for you, the ones who continue to support you, and even the ones who've only crossed your path for a brief moment. Understand that these connections are what make the journey worthwhile. They are what make life meaningful. And when you recognize the value of connection, you begin to see that the most important thing you can ever do is show up for the people who matter and let them show up for you in return. So remember, disappearing doesn't mean you're weak. Sometimes it's in that silence, in that stillness that you discover your strength. And when you return with purpose, with strength, and with the knowledge of who you truly are.